Welcome to Wellywood Wargaming, where the grim dark never sleeps. Crack open a bottle of wild snake and spark up a low stick as we take a journey down underhive.
Greetings, Hive Scum. So, you want to get into Necromunda, but you're not sure which gang or faction to pick out of nearly 20 gangs, I believe, in modern Necromunda. Now, I've been playing this since '95, and I can tell you, each campaign that I play, I find it quite hard to decide, honestly. So what I'm going to do in this video is break things down into 3 separate categories. The most important, I think, is the sort of play style that you're going to want to go for, as well as the lore and, of course, the aesthetic as well. Which of these things resonates most with you? I think this will be quite insightful to help you pick your gang for Necromunda. Okay, so firstly, let's start with the overall aesthetic of the available factions and gangs in Necromunda. And I've split this into 3 key categories. We have got the theme, the overall theme of the gang, the style of the gang, and the painting ability as well, whether or not you'll find these guys pleasurable to paint or not. So let's talk about theme, the overall theme of the gang from a visual and aesthetic point of view. Do you like religious nutbags? Then Cawdor are probably for you. Do you like sort of brutish, thuggish, Mad Max type guys? Then maybe Goliath or Orlock or even corpse grinders would be for you as well. We've got tech specialists like Saar, super high tech with lots of energy weapons, as well as bounty hunters like Venators as well. We've got the sneaky boys that are perhaps Delaque or Ash Waste nomads, and then we've got, of course, bikers like Orlocks. 100% female gangs of poisonous Amazon warriors in Escher. We've got little dwarf miners, and of course we've got Xenos, otherwise known as aliens. These are all the options to consider when thinking about the overall theme and vibe of your gang. Next, we have the style, the overall aesthetic style of your gang. We have the theme, but we also have a style as well. Do you want to go purely grimdark? If you're used to the 40k universe, then lots of skulls and lots of macabre details would sort of steer you down a certain path into maybe Cawdor or something that's very visually appealing from a 40k grimdark aesthetic. Perhaps you like something more cyberpunk or something a little bit more high-tech as well in Escher and Saar respectively. Or again, do you want to explore that sort of Mad Max post-apocalyptic brutality? Then Orlocks, Goliaths and corpse grinders again. In terms of painting as well, I can tell you I've painted up every single gang in Necromunda to date, the old ones and the new, and I've done lots and lots of my own custom conversions as well. Now I know that painting is not an essential part of the hobby for a lot of people. Many people just don't have the time or energy to do painting, so this really does matter on how much you are willing to put into your paint schemes and stuff as well. But each of these gangs does have a particular aesthetic that leans into whether they are easy or difficult to paint. I would say some of the more detailed ones that I've had issues with are perhaps Escher and Saar because they're quite small and fiddly, and I find them fairly difficult to paint in a detailed kind of way. However, if you like that detail focus, then those gangs will definitely be more in line for you. Likewise, if you like colour, bold, vivid colours, then something like Escher usually leans into that, whereas if you want something more drab and simple, you might go for Squats or Ash Waste nomads. It's all good and well picking a gang that you like the sort of theme and aesthetic of, but if you're not into painting them, this really will be a huge kicker. I suppose though, you're not painting an entire army, you're only painting 10, 15 miniatures, so it's not so much of a problem. Getting them done in a batch doesn't take quite as long as, say, Horus Heresy, 40k or Age of Sigmar. The next thing to talk about, of course, is the lore. So you like the overall aesthetic of, say, Escher or Delaque, but then you want to dive into some of the lore. Pick up yourself one of the house books. There are tons and tons of house books for each of the factions in Necromunda. They're pretty much all covered in here in some way, shape or form. Then you're going to want to look into the lore, because honestly, if the style resonates with you but the lore doesn't, then you're going to have a little bit of a problem there. Of course, Necromunda is a narrative focused game, so you can kind of create your own lore, especially around outcasts and venators, which are custom gangs, to want for a better word. But you're going to want to resonate with the lore. Do you want just squat miners, a mining party that goes out and prospects for precious materials and whatnot, and they're very, very grumpy as well? Do you want to go with the sneaky, stealthy, secretive boys of House Delaque with their really interesting and secretive past? Or do you want to go full tech heresy and go into Saar's lore, where they're hiding their STC from the Inquisition, because if they get found out, they will get absolutely nuked? Or you could go with something that resonates with me for some reason, the ecclesiarchy, the religious fervour and absolutely unwavering faith of the Imperium in the redemption or House Cawdor. The lore is absolutely an important detail of Necromunda. It doesn't have to be, but with something that's so rich in Necromunda compared to games and systems like Kill Team or AOS, I just feel the lore is going to have to resonate with you as well as the style and aesthetic. So if you've already picked your gang by this point in terms of the style and aesthetic, as well as if you want to actually paint these guys, then go and check out the lore and see if that resonates deep within you as well. The final decider really for me is playstyle, and I think this is equally as important as the lore and the aesthetic as well. How do you want to play your games of Necromunda? Because it's all good and well having something that looks really nice and the lore is really cool, but if it doesn't play in the style that you want to play Necromunda, then there's a problem. I've split this into 9 different categories of playstyles. The first one is the balanced playstyle. So these are gangs that are equally good at shooting as they are at close combat, and they can mix it up and mix and match with different gangs and opponents. They're able to adapt to different styles of play. This is where I would start as a beginner. I would start with a more balanced gang. The gangs that I've put in this category that I really think about are the 3 house gangs of Orlock, Escher, and Delaque. All 3 of these gangs have the ability to shoot. They have the ability to do pretty good close combat as well, and they are sort of mid-range across the board, and they're all very good gangs as well. Good starting points, I would say. Also, I would lump GSC or Gene Stealer Cult into this category because they, again, have lots of shooting, they have lots of fighting as well, and they are sort of mid-tier in terms of their overall ability as well. The other one, of course, that I would throw in here is Venators. Venators are a custom gang. You can really play them how you want. However, you can really go with a very balanced approach, and I would normally suggest that if you are going to start out with Venators, try the balanced approach, have some shooty, snipey boys, have some fighty boys, and you'll have a maximum amount of fun. The next gangs that I would put into the shooty category, the ones that really do shoot you off the table, are usually like a mobile gun platform. They either put out a lot of Daka or they just snipe you off the table. These gangs are, of course, Saar with their snipey energy weapons and high ballistic skill. We've also got squats as well that put out a lot more Daka than any other gang in the game. They're also fairly slow as well. Of course, we have Ash Waste Nomads, which are an option too. They get access to long rifles, lots of long range special weapons, heavy weapons, and basic weapons as well. They are quite a shooty gang, so I would put Nomads into this category too. Then we have Enforcers and Bad Zone Enforcers. These gangs are pretty average on the stats, but do again have access to some really strong weapons in the Enforcer bolt gun, Enforcer shotgun, and lots of interesting concussion carbines and things like that. I wouldn't say they're a fighty gang, but they can be if you really want them to. However, I've lumped them into the shooty category here as well as Venators again, because Venators are very shooty if you want to go down that route. We have some sort of fighter profiles that have very high ballistic skill and access to some very good guns from the trading post rarity levels too. In opposition to the shooty, we then have the fighty. These are the gangs that are really, really good in close combat. The first one that comes to mind, of course, is Corpse Grinders. Corpse Grinders are horrifically powerful in close combat. You probably will have heard about them already, even if you haven't played Necromunda. They are a band of savage cannibals that want to get up close and personal with lots and lots of chain weapons and just rip you in half and eat what's left. Then we have Spirers. Spirers are the most elite team of Uphive nobles that come down to hunt other members of the underhive. So these guys really do mean business. They can shoot, but they can also fight really well as well. So I've put Spirers into the more fighty category here too. Lastly, we have gangs like Ogryns and Goliaths as well. Goliaths excel at sort of short to mid-range shooting and fighting. Generally speaking though, they can really mix it up in close combat. So I would say Goliaths have to go into the more fighty category, as well as Ogryns, which are giant slave ogres that just move around the board very slow like and just smash you with giant hammers and whatnot. So Ogryns absolutely have to be in the fighty category as well. Then we have the sort of elite category. These are low model count. So you're looking at gangs that field perhaps half the amount in numbers as your opponent might have. Say Saar we've got here. We've also got Spirers again, squats as they're very expensive to field too, and of course Venators, which are an elite band of bounty hunters. All of these gangs come in at quite high cost or credit value in your games of Necromunda. You're going to need less models, but again, this can be quite nice for you because it means you don't need to buy quite as much and you can field less guys and they have far more sort of elite appeal to them as well. On the opposite side of that coin, we have the Horde gangs. These are the gangs gangs where you field massive numbers. Generally speaking, when I think of Horde, I think of Cawdor, religious nutbags that will just swarm you. Usually they're going to outnumber you 2 to 1. If you like playing a sort of Horde playstyle in other game systems like 40k or whatever, then Cawdor are absolutely for you. Likewise, I would put outcasts in there, or anything that gets access to cheap hive scum like Malstrain, Gene Stealers, stuff like that. Can be quite Horde because of the low cost of points, or credits should I say, in Necromunda. You can build a gang with lots and lots of members. One thing to consider there though is that scenarios in Necromunda usually have a maximum crew size, and that usually doesn't go above 10. However, Cawdor do have some tricks up their sleeves to bring in even more fighters through tactics cards and articles of faith. Also in the Horde category, I would put Chaos Helots in there as well, mainly because of their low credit cost. You can usually field lots of cultists. The next category is the Indomitable category, or the Toughness category. These are the stalwart gangs that take a lot of punishment. These are the gangs that slowly move across the board, taking a lot of damage before they get into your face and bash you. These are the sort of death guard of Necromunda, I suppose. And what we have here are Ogryns, Goliaths, and Squats. All of these gangs have very high toughness stats, and they're very durable as a result of this. So if you like playing tough stuff, then these are the 3 for you. The next one is the Speedy category. Now, there are only 2 that I've put in here. The first one is Spirers. The reason being is that they have very high base movement, as well as the fact that they can activate twice in a turn as opposed to every single other fighter in Necromunda. So you really can move around the board and do some shenanigans with Spirers. They are definitely a fast and rapid gang. Also, I would put Nomads in that category as well, because the base movement in an Ash Waste Nomads gang is very, very high. You also have the Shadow Hunters that can do lots of infiltrating and moving around, as well as their pets that can burrow underneath terrain and whatnot too. So those are the speedy gangs. It's also worth mentioning that you can build other gangs to be fairly fast as well. Venators have a movement 6 profile. We also have the Cats from House Escher, or Orlock Wreckers as well, and even Van Saar prospects that move very fast as well. But generally speaking, those are more balanced gangs in general. Then we have the psychic or weird power focused gangs. Now, there aren't many of these either. The main one that you're going to think about here, if you like casting lots of spells in other games, is House Delaque. They revolve around their whole house mechanic of having 3 very different sort of tables in terms of their weird powers, and they can do lots of psychic shenanigans in games as well. We also have outcasts, and you can build an outcast leader or outcast champions as weirds, and the Book of the Outcast has all of the different weird powers in it as well, so they're pretty good for doing weird powers and psychic stuff too, as well as Chaos Helots, which get a witch who can also do lots of weird powers, and actually Gene Stealer Cult too, who can have a psychic leader. The last category I would say is the stealthy category. These are the ones that sneak about, infiltrate, and do lots of sneaky, stabby stuff as well. So obviously Delaque fall into this category as well. They are shadowy, bald figures in goggles and trench coats. They are the most stealthy and sneaky in the game generally, but Ash Waste Nomads can also do this. They can hide in the wastes, and they have lots of infiltrating fighters as well, again with their Shadow Hunters. Also, I would say Gene Stealer Cult and Chaos Helots lean into the sneaky vibe a little bit, because they get access to cunning skills, which are the sort of sneaky skill tree there as well. So I've kept this short and sweet. This video really is for new folks that are new to Necromunda and want to get into Necromunda and can't decide which faction or gang to play. Go through those 3 steps, think about playstyle, think about aesthetic and how it would be to paint up a gang of these guys, and how they're going to look when you're done it, and how much enjoyment you're going to get out of that, as well as the lore as well. Look into the lore, the backstory, and all of the cool fluff that comes with Necromunda as well. If you're ticking 2 or 3 of the boxes on one particular gang, then you've already made your decision, and hopefully this video was really helpful for you. Anyway, please do like, share, subscribe, and I'll be back with another video real soon. Peace out.